Här finns TV4s nyaste, nordligaste lokalstation.
Tycker det är roligt att se vad som händer i närheten.
Förut hade jag rasistiska åsikter, nu är jag mer nationalsocialist.
Nu är vi över till allvaret.
Det ser glad ut. Ett roligt program det här.
I lokal-tv så ser det ju vad händer i stan.
15 lokal-tv-stationer från norr till söder.
Det här är Lars Gustafsson. Han har en uppgift. Snart ska han leda ett helt nytt program här i TV4. Det kommer att sändas måndag till torsdag hela våren. Och det ska bli lekfullt och underhållande. Programmets namn: Prata på. Premiär måndag den 9 januari 18:30. Missa det inte.
I hockeykväll med 4. Hur går det i lokalderbyt där svartgula AIK ställs mot femfaldigt NHL-proffsförstärkta Djurgården? Du ser matchen i hockeykväll med 4 på måndag 7:30 i TV4.
En tragisk olycka rycker ifrån henne man och barn.
Now I understand why I had to survive. Going to have another baby. Oh, my new surprise.
Livet går vidare. Men kan hon någonsin älska igen?
Jeffrey was my whole life and I lost him. And I never want to feel that kind of pain again.
Daniel Stils En gång i livet. Onsdag kväll klockan 8.
Dags för nya fall ur Arkiv X.
Hold on to your hat, Scully, because you're gonna love this. It was like he was going through some kind of a transformation.
Möt platser du inte trodde existerade.
There's plenty of room in that cold, dark place.
Arkiv X, torsdag 10:09 i TV4.
Hej, jag heter Paolo Roberto. Här är Bella Goldman. Vi är programledare i Men Hallå, ett program för och med unga människor.
Vi kommer föra berättelser ur verkliga livet, om sånt som de flesta av oss funderat på eller kanske till och med upplevt. Det kan handla om att leva med våld, bli med barn eller möta den stora kärleken.
Ja, eller hur det är att bli sviken av en vän, svartsjuka, eller hur det är att vara en fåfäng man.
Och mycket, mycket mer. Vi ses.
Vi ses.
Det finns inget pris för den som får andra att le. Inga hyllningståg för att lösa livets små mysterier. Men för de män som gör sitt bästa varje dag ger vi vårt bästa. Gillette Sensor Excel. Fjäderupphängda blad och mikrolameller som reser skäggstråna. Och Gillette Series Aftershave Gel för den sköna känslan. Sensor Excel. Världens bästa rakning. Ibland är det en belöning i sig. Gillette. För män som väljer rätt.
Hejsan morsan, hejsan stabben. Här är brev.
Cornelis kom till Sverige som 12-åring och lärde sig inte bara att behärska vårt språk. Han förnyade det i sina sånger.
Med lilla fröken Cecilia Lind. Jag ska be att få ställa upp med en visa om en tupp som var gammal och utsliten, impotent och vederbiten. Felicia försvann. Kan någon säga hur? Det sjunger några ungar på Karl Johan. De låter starka och fina som bara ungar kan. Skär som Lyga Persson satt en morgon vid frukostbordet och läste i morgonbladet att det senaste lustmordet. Somliga går med trasiga skor. Säg vad beror det på?
Cornelis bästa. Allt finns samlat i boxen Mäster Kes memoarer. 5 CD med 139 sånger och ett häfte med unika bilder och intervjuer. Så medborgare, ge din skivsamling en chans. Ring TV-shop nu. Slå 077 114 14 14 så skickar vi ett mästerverk att upptäcka så länge du lever.
En stund på jorden.
Ja, när man drabbas av någonting sånt här så får man ju överväga det mesta av vad man tidigare har tagit för självklart.
Jag har slutat köra bil i alla fall. Det var det första steget jag tog på. För att jag hittade nämligen inte riktigt hem.
Allt det som inte stämmer hemma hos oss, det är inte Ingers fel. Det är sjukdomens fel.
Hjälp oss stödja forskningen kring Alzheimers sjukdom.
Oj, Gösta, 4 veckors semester tillsammans.
Skönt att slippa det här vädret också. Lilla Gun. Ja. Biljetten.
Kommer jag. Men Gösta, här står det att du måste besiktiga bilen inom 2 veckor. Du har haft 5 månader på dig. Nu blir det körförbud så fort vi kommer hem till Sverige igen.
Det får bära eller brista. Nu ska vi iväg i alla fall.
Varför bromsar du inte?
Jag gjorde ju det.
Det här blir dyrt.
Lugn, det här fixar jag. Hallå! Hej du, räcker det här?
Gösta,
fint.
Det var inte honom du körde på.
Hörru din förbannade bonraggare! Oj, förlåt. Det var inte meningen. Jag trodde att ni var en annan, eller att han var ni.
Hur kommer framtiden se ut? Kanske kan vi lära oss någonting i digitala drömmar.
I'm ready for my future now, Mr. DeVille.
I suppose you can figure it out.
The future is where we will spend the rest of our lives.
There comes a time in all our lives when we begin to wonder exactly what is this thing called reality. For me, right now, reality is the fact that I am Jeff Goldblum, host of Future Quest, doing the opening of this episode on virtual reality. Now, if this were virtual reality, it would be almost the same, except completely different. You'd experience me as being here, but I wouldn't actually be here. And yet, on various levels, I would be. That is, I'd be virtually right here. Are you following this? There's been a lot of buzz about virtual reality, VR, but for starters, I'd like to know just what it is and what it isn't. I mean, is virtual reality just a new way to play video games and have great cyber sex? Or is VR really going to change our world forever? Virtual reality, it's the unreal thing.
Virtual reality is the name for an illusion. Virtual reality is a method.
Virtual reality is a whole new place, and it's made out of pure information.
What is virtual reality? There's enough to deal with reality. Why have synthetic reality, you know?
Virtual reality is the technology for moving through and interacting with a three-dimensional, computer-generated environment.
VR is going to be the set of tools that you use to actually experience information. Now, computer technology and optical technology, cinema technologies are combined to create this illusion, which has 3 parts. Immersion, the feeling that you are completely surrounded by the artificial world rather than seeing it on a small screen. Navigation, which means that you can choose your point of view. You can move around in the virtual world instead of just seeing the point of view that a cameraman or director chooses for you. And manipulation, it means that using a special glove with sensors in it, you can reach into that virtual world and change it.
What are you going to do? Put a helmet on and act like you're feeling like you're eating a swordfish dinner? Why not just eat a swordfish dinner?
VR is about control. When we first started going to movies and making movies, the producer was in charge. VR is about letting us make our own movies. They can be anything we want.
A virtual world is a model located inside of a computer, and that model is something that's displayed to you as computer graphics and sometimes as computer sounds when you put on a head-mounted display and enter the virtual world. And that model could be anything from a room, such as the one I'm in, to an entire city, to a molecule, to outer space. Anything that you can make a model of inside a computer.
If this were VR, you could be co-hosting this show right now.
The proper use of virtual reality is to prepare you to go out into the real world. In other words, there are educational tools which we can extract from virtual reality, which will be wonderful, teaching of physical movement, teaching of medical technologies, taking people into machinery, allowing them to see and feel how these things work. Wonderful tools, wonderful entertainment tools.
Entertainment's big business, and that undoubtedly will drive the industry.
You're in a computer-generated world, and you can go anywhere, do anything you want.
Virtual Adventures puts 6 people in a capsule, competing against sea monsters and the bad guys who are also in vehicles of 6 people, all trying to save the Loch Ness Monster from extinction.
There's a big boom in the whole interactive entertainment area where people want to figure out ways to use computers and immerse themselves in experiences they've never been able to do before because technology wasn't available to do it. So when you get on a pterodactyl and fly through a fantasy world and slay an evil dragon, that's something you can't do in real life. But now, with these kind of experiences you can get with this kind of technology, you can have fun in ways you've never been able to have it before.
I think it's cool. I mean, you know, it's obviously the wave of the future, these interactive games.
Virtual world is different from any traditional type of arcade or video game in that it's a network simulation. It's not a person against machine, but it's player against player.
Press the red button to go forward, full throttle. Where did you get this guy, Doc?
It's very different from a movie in that you're the hero of this. It's not passive. It's very different from an arcade game in that it was real. It happened.
Knock, knock, who's there? Oh, just a tourist. If I were you, I'd sue my travel agent.
Cyberspace is a word for that kind of mental place we're in when we talk on the telephone, or the place where your money is when banks send electronic transactions back and forth, or where you are when you are communicating with a computer bulletin board system or a computer network, or the place that you are when you put on a head-mounted display and partake of a virtual reality simulation.
You should be able to interact with cyberspace without even knowing that you are.
In here, we can be anything we want to be. I'll see you on the inside.
Somebody always asks me about virtual sex.
Okay, I'm dying to know. Just what is virtual sex?
So, how do you like your women? Blonde? Brunette? Redhead?
Brunette. I'm always asked about virtual sex.
Slim. Athletic. Voluptuous.
Athletic.
First, we have to ask the question, what is virtual reality sex?
I've been asked about this in, I don't know, a dozen different countries around the world.
What is cyber sex?
It's a fantasy.
Demure? Aggressive? Sleazy? Be honest?
Sleazy. Everyone always asks about virtual sex.
I'm fascinated by this.
To be totally honest, it kind of grosses me out, but for the others, I'm happy.
Virtual sex come primarily out of a computer nerd culture with a lot of lonely males obsessed with sex because they're not getting enough
Whatever we were doing, it's over now.
Virtual sex is, you know, kind of one of these really gross things. You say, what's the input device? What's the output device?
The whole thing concerns me a little bit. You know, first of all, I think anybody who wants to make it with a machine shouldn't be trusted with another human being.
This is no place for monkeys, Polo.
Well, I mean, talk about the ultimate and safe sex as long as you don't have a hydraulic problem with your interface.
It's not something that the current technology even makes possible.
I could see, however, where it would be a popular thing.
You've probably also heard words like erotitronics or telesex.
Tele what?
Telesex, great, fine, you know, and it's going to happen whether it's coming whether you like it or not.
It might be a computer-generated erotic experience. You might be playing a game on a CD-ROM. You might be having some other kind of software program. Maybe your computer talks to you and pretends it's your lover. I mean, who knows what, right? Wow, we're going to have these cyber sex suits, and we'll be able to have, you know, sex with virtual Madonna or virtual, you know, Mel Gibson, or, you know, have sex with your favorite celebrity.
Oh, no. Get that camera out of here.
Joe, where are you?
I'm right here, Marty.
Someday we may have some fully immersive, three-dimensional suit that can generate, you know, sexual sensations.
Obviously, the sense of touch, something that's very important to sex. It's not just a visual or auditory. You have to be able to touch somebody, have sexual experience with them.
I really hope that whatever kind of cyber sex gear we develop isn't some big sex trooper helmet and some full-length bodysuit and you have wires. I mean, it's completely cumbersome and the most unerotic thing I could imagine wearing. I mean, I'm sure that whatever it is, it'll be lightweight and really sexy, and you won't even feel like you have it on, so.
In sex at the moment, there seems to be a general substitution of the image for the reality. You know, you look at all this phone sex that's going on and generalized pornography all over the society. I don't want to sound like Jesse Helms, but I think this is weird.
Nobody ever does anything about it. That's all changed now.
And I think that, you know, CD-ROM or virtual reality might be a very effective medium to teach young people about, you know, safe sex and just about, you know, sexuality in general.
I think that there would be something wonderful about having a communications device that made it possible for me to make love to somebody at a distance. Really do it.
This technology can be used to communicate affection over a distance, and not just sexually. I mean, I'd love to be able to give someone a hug from transcontinentally.
On the other hand,
I don't think that that's the direction that most people want to take it. They want to make it possible to make love to the idea of somebody at a distance, and I think that's fairly pernicious.
I guess I would say that I sort of prefer the real thing myself.
sex and games are great, sure, but what can VR really do for us?
The way that this technology works and the way the mind works have a lot to do with each other. But as well, there are applications in architecture, design, manufacturing, space exploration, medicine.
One of the things that computers turn out to be pretty good at is as substitutes for microscopes and telescopes into environments that nobody is ever going to really inhabit. I mean, I have had the experience of manipulating portions of a molecule where I could actually feel the valences. So I was rearranging atoms and I could feel where they would go and not go. Now that's actually pretty handy if you're trying to design a complex molecule in drug research or something like that.
Being able to see inside the human body is one of the applications of virtual reality that's already proved to have some impact, and in the future, 10 years from now, may be as important as X-rays and CAT scans are today.
Virtual reality has very powerful short-term applications in areas of what's called remote sensing, meaning putting you inside an environment where it's unsafe or impractical for you to go personally, so that a robot controlled through VR can clean up a nuclear disaster in a reactor. It can go down to the floor of the sea, and yet to you it's much as if you were in it.
NASA is interested in developing telepresence technology to help us explore other worlds. Eventually, when we go to the planet Mars or we go out into space, we want to be able to remove the barriers between the human mind and the environment that we want to study.
It's very likely that you will never send a person onto the surface of Mars into a place that you haven't already put a robot reconnaissance traverse into, so that you have the best briefed human crew you can possibly have to go do that traverse. They understand that terrain. They've been through it, telepresent.
Virtual reality, to my mind, is ultimately a method of communication.
I think that virtual reality is going to make it possible for people to connect with each other in new ways.
Right now, with network computer communications, you're sort of reduced to words as the internet becomes richer in its ability to transmit large chunks of data. You're going to be using video and sound and eventually VR to do that.
We do work in real-time interactive 3D graphics. We do work on how do you build a large-scale network virtual environment using local area nets and wide area networks. And we can play with about 300 players across the nation. We're working on technology in scaling that up to first 10,000 players and then moving on to 300,000 players.
There are things that soldiers must know how to do that they cannot safely practice with operational equipment.
Hey, is this a video game, or are we really killing people here?
We will always have to practice with our equipment because that's how we will fight. But the use of that equipment is so expensive that we can use simulation technology to practice and gain a level of proficiency that's far higher than we could in the past.
If you go in without having ever practiced before, it's like going in and doing anything without ever having practiced before. You, first and foremost, you don't really have the confidence that you're going to do well, and if you don't have the confidence, that is the first part of the formula for failure.
Young soldiers make decisions based on the things that they know at the moment that the decision needs to be made. And so their knowledge is imperfect.
When I'm in one vehicle looking through a window, and that window has computer graphics in it, and I see somebody else out there, and that happens to be you, and you're in another similar vehicle, and around us is terrain or air or ocean or whatever. We're both in a synthetic environment.
What happens when make-believe gets confused with reality?
I never realized it was so complex.
Because VR is a very powerful technology, instantly you have to be alert to danger. I mean, people are finding out that powerful technology requires you to be responsible, and certainly VR is no different than powerful medical technology or powerful weapons technology.
When I first started to get around this stuff, I felt like the human race was at the biggest sort of technological juncture since Gutenberg in terms of what it was to be a human. And I'm now inclined to think that this is probably the biggest technological juncture since the capture of fire.
It's clear to me, as someone who spends a lot of time in cyberspace and a lot of time in the real world, that these are very different states of mind.
The people who were already there in cyberspace on a conscious level are a wild libertarian lot, by and large. They're people who went there just as in the last frontier because it was a place where they had a lot of freedom, where there really wasn't anybody who could tell them what to do. So a lot of them are kids who are operating without adult supervision, and a lot of them are folks who are fundamentally pretty asocial, if not antisocial.
Whether it's a technology like VR or video, anything that powerfully impacts kids needs to be very carefully looked at.
One of the things that's happened is people get so excited about this form of entertainment that's also a form of communication that they become addicted to it. They spend many, many, many hours at it.
He was normally a very quiet boy.
Now, of course, this is a problem when you're spending your time communicating through a screen rather than communicating face-to-face with people. There is a social problem involved. I would hasten to add that we already have people spending many hours a day looking at a little box in their living rooms and not even communicating with people. So addiction to electronic media is nothing new.
There's a notion of VR that I think is particularly toxic, in which virtual reality is a solitary experience, you know, and you just jack yourself into a machine and, you know, it's you and it. It's not a communications device. It's like television.
I think that there are some real concerns about virtual reality as an escape medium being worse than television in the sense of sucking people's time away and becoming an addictive medium.
Bill Gibson said something great about that possibility, which was that it would be like freebasing TV. You know, it would take the already toxic drug of television and turn it into something truly lethal.
There! If many, many people spend their time in the kind of mindless, violent entertainment in virtual reality that we now see in other entertainment media, I don't think that that's necessarily going to be a good thing. You know, watching violence on television or in the movies is one thing, but to actually be able to participate in a simulation of violence, to pick up a virtual shotgun and blow the head off a virtual person, that I think is taking it a step further, and I fear for what the consequences might be 20, 30, 40 years from now.
Right and wrong and appropriate behavior is defined by people. And if a child doesn't have good personal relationships and is living in a violent society that's showing him violent images, clearly he's not going to know how to deal with violent situations, or he will learn to deal with situations in a violent way. I don't think that this is about technology. This is about our culture.
I fear for my daughter, for my grandchildren, if we give control over our lives to machines that give us very attractive illusions, but which in essence may steal our humanity.
I feel like the point is to take the neurology that's sitting here in what they call the wetware, this sloshy gray matter here, and hook it into all the other gray matter on the planet. I don't want to just get the contents of my head out into another head. I want to get the contents of my head out into the mind, with a capital M. And I want to be able to feel the mind here.
There are applications of virtual reality for the disabled.
This extends the human body. I mean, it's the next stage in the development of the human body itself, is to control more matter than the carbon-based form that we're in.
People who are almost totally paralyzed, who can only move their tongues, for example, can steer their point of view through a virtual world.
So if we can tap in directly from the biological signals from the eye, from the brain, or from muscles, and extend that into a computer controller, we've now opened up the doors for a whole new way of human-computer interaction. These armbands have electrodes in them. If patients have big muscle groups on their limbs, this is wonderful, but if they don't, then that's why we have the other ones. We can put the electrodes where the muscles actually are. What you'll see is that I have the ball up there, and when I move one arm, it moves over, and I move this arm, it moves up. And so now I can move both arms together, and I get coordinated muscle skills. See if you can make it wiggle. Can you try that for me? There you go. Wow. You just made a mountain. Can you make another mountain? One thing we found with the people with disabilities is that giving them some sort of feedback to their biological signals increases their motivation to exercise those muscles, which actually accelerates their rehabilitation. Raise your eyebrows, they'll get bigger. See how they're getting big? That's you doing that. You're controlling that. You're in charge. You like being the boss? Oh, yeah. You like being the boss, huh? The sense of empowerment is quite profound to people like this. Because if you can control the computer, you can control information systems, and you'll also be able to be an employee, because you can actually be useful in the information society.
These people who have good minds that are trapped in useless bodies can use virtual reality as a way of not only taking care of themselves, but of becoming contributing members of society.
We're going to see if you can fly around. You want to go flying? If you can make them understand with these virtual reality systems more what's going on in their body and make them feel a little better about themselves and put them more in control, now you open up a whole new, part of life for them.
I do space.
There you go. You're getting there. You're almost
I
getting
do
there.
space.
There you go. You're doing them both together. Eyebrows. Open your mouth. Open your mouth. Even in the future, have an environment that the child creates.
What I found in watching kids use VR is that they're delighted by it. They're intrigued by it.
Give them a tool so they can point and put walls places and, you know, this is the wallpaper I want, and I can finger paint on the walls if I want, and, you know, give them a place that's their room.
These were places that were delightful and pleasant places to play and explore. There were moon colonies, there were neighborhoods, there were undersea worlds.
I mean, that's really going to be the ultimate, and then they can invite kids from down the hall. Hey, come see my room.
I think virtual reality, once it starts to get good and to be used as a communications device, is going to be one of the suite of tools that fundamentally alters what it is to be a human being.
Graph 5, engage. Change brainwave parameters.
And VR ought to be something more like the town square than wherever that place is that you go in a video game.
Imagine your entire family together for Thanksgiving dinner, even though everybody lives in different cities. Imagine being able to touch a close friend on a different continent. Wow, it's said that virtual reality will change our lives as much as the telephone changed our grandparents' lives. If so, what new adventures are out there waiting for us? What new worlds will we explore through virtual reality? What more will we learn about the future, the very real future, where we will spend the rest of our lives?